Despite Microsoft removing the last remaining ways to bypass needing a Microsoft account to set up Windows, and for questionable reasons that I'll get to, there is still one remaining easy and official way to set up a local account. But there is one catch. I'm Theojo, and let me show you how to do it. So at this first screen, you want to choose to set up for work and school, not for personal use. Then click Sign In Options, and finally click Domain Join Instead. That's literally it. You can then choose your local username, set a password if you want or not, and continue on. You don't actually even need to join an Active Directory domain, it's called. And this is not new, by the way. You could always do this. Now, at that point, if you are connected to the internet, it will still force you to download and install the updates right away. But if you're not connected to the internet, it won't, and it won't bother you about it. But in any case, after that, the only other thing it'll ask you is for your privacy settings, which it asked me twice for some reason, and then it'll go into Windows. But now for the big catch. And that is that first screen that lets you choose between installing for work or personal use will not show up on Windows Home Edition. It's only for Pro Edition and higher, like Education, Enterprise, or whatever. Now, normally I would say that if you really care that much about using a local account, you probably should be using Pro Edition anyway. It does legitimately also have additional useful features for power users anyway. However, some people have made a really good point that even if you intend to set up and use Pro Edition later, if you bought a pre-built computer that has Home Edition pre-installed and you go to set it up, you have to go through the Home Edition flow, which means that you would have to set it up initially with a Microsoft account unless you wanted to reinstall, which would be annoying. Now, there's nothing stopping you from setting it up with a Microsoft account initially and then switching to a local account. You can still do that, but if you want to set it up initially, you have to use the local account. And also, I think if you don't use a local account, you don't really have control over what the username folder is called. So you might have to end up making a brand new account that is local and then switching to that and deleting the old one. Now, to be clear for a second, I'm not saying that if you don't care that signing in with a Microsoft account is bad, that you shouldn't do it. It's just that if you really want to sign in with a local account, you should be able to do that. Anyway, you might be wondering why they're even doing this. I mean, it was already hard enough. You had to really know how to do it and specifically try to use a local account. So what do they really care? Here's what they said in the blog post for the build that removed this feature. And to be clear, this is not yet in stable builds of Windows. It's just in the developer branch, but they're clearly going to do it soon. Anyway, in the update notes, it says local only commands removal. We are removing known mechanisms for creating a local account in the Windows Setup Experience, OOBE. While these mechanisms were often used to bypass Microsoft account setup, they also inadvertently skipped critical setup screens, potentially causing users to exit OOBE with a device that is not fully configured for use. Users will need to complete OOBE, that stands for out-of-box experience, with internet and a Microsoft account to ensure a device is set up correctly. I mean, okay, you read that, it sounds serious, like they might be skipping important steps, but I was skeptical. Exactly which critical setup screens are they talking about? So I tested it before and after on a stable current version of Windows ISO installer, so one where the bypass will work. And I used this most recent command, which is the working one that everyone uses, which you just enter into the command prompt by pressing Shift F10, and you can still bring up the command prompt. Anyway, after you type in that command, it brings up this Windows 10 style box that lets you, as usual, choose a username and password, and then after that, the only screen that it shows you is the privacy settings. And then once selecting those, it just takes you right into Windows. Though you might notice that's the same exact flow that we went through when using the domain join method, the official one, especially when offline, when it didn't even ask for updates. So what are these so-called critical screens that it was supposedly skipping?